qualify the other rest of the group, only if he intended to testify. That's what we had in the Gemara. So the Gemara has the question, what is the halacha? What's the halacha in practice? We have two opinions in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi and Rebbe. So now the Gemara wants to know, we have Vavam and Aleph. Right. So,
and after the Gemara doing Machloket and discuss about it with Mikeshit and stuff like that. Over here, the Mishnah is in Machloket, and the Gemara is doing the same thing as the Mishnah. They don't.
right. No, right. So the Gemara explains the Mishnah, clarifies the Gemara, but did not. But here, a lot of times, like you said, the Mishnah does not name, says a halacha. But sometimes the Mishnah brings different opinions. Beit Shammai, Beit Hillel. So in the Mishnah, you need the Gemara to tell you who does the law follow. You have Beit Shammai, Beit Hillel. Who's the halacha? So we say generally the halacha follows Beit Hillel. So it's the same thing over here, Yaron. The Mishnah mentions two opinions on this matter. But now the Gemara needs to tell you, okay, so but who's the winner? There's two rabbis. Now usually you have a rule, when you have a minority and a majority, you go after the majority, right? But here, we don't have a majority-minority. We have two rabbis. We have Rabbi Yossi, and we have one rabbi who called Rebbe. So now the question is, who does the law follow? So that we need the Gemara to tell us. Now, not always will the Gemara tell us. Sometimes there are general rules, but here the Gemara needs to tell us who do we follow in practice. So the Gemara says, what does the Gemara say? Itma. You have the last line of the page? It's 6A, article 6A3, bottom right. 6A3, bottom right. Itma. Good morning, Mr. Adri. So the Gemara says, Amar of Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel, Halacha to Rabbi Yossi. The law follows Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi is the one who says that the mere fact, one of Mr. Adri, the mere fact that you were witness to this together with your brother, that in itself will invalidate you, will invalidate the rest of the group. That was Rabbi Yossi's opinion. And we said in halacha, there are some that Tosfos understands at the end of the day, that's only if you come to court. If you don't come to court, you won't invalidate. But Rashi does not understand that way. Rashi understands the 1 in 18 that as long as you saw it together with your brother, with a third guy, you will invalidate the group. And Rav Nachman Amar halacha keRebbe. Rav Nachman says the law follows Rebbe. The law follows Rebbe, which is the opinion in the Shulchan Aruch. The law follows Rebbe that what? That as long as you did not intend to testify, you will not invalidate the group. So in halacha, they discuss regarding a marriage, right? A marriage, when you have people that relatives that are seeing the marriage, right? So the comment, morning, Michael, how is it that those relatives, now, first of all, if the relatives don't, so what we do is we appoint specific witnesses. That's why when they at a wedding they call up many weddings, they say Eidei Kiddushin. These are the witnesses on the Kiddushin. One of the things we don't just say, okay, we're getting married, Yaakov's getting married to Rachel, and everybody, Yaakov goes in front of the crowd and he says, Hari Amu Kadeshet Libet Havazu. Do we do it that way? We have 1,000 people at the wedding. We have 1,000 witnesses at the wedding. We don't do it that way, right, Nathan? We don't just say, okay, we're having a ceremony, and the groom is betrothing the bride, and everyone is there to witness it. We don't do it that way. Because if we do it that way, big problem. Then everybody's intending to testify. We're all witnesses. We're intending to testify. And according to this understanding in Rebbe, if one of them is a relative, knock everybody out. So that's why we specifically call up and we specifically designate these two witnesses, and only these two witnesses are the witnesses on the deal. And how do you like that, Michael? You talk to your father, he'll tell you that. Right. Right, but he officiates weddings, but that's why we make sure to specify specific people. You are the witness. How do you like that? And therefore, not the relatives that are in the audience. What? No, even though it's, but it's a question. No one what?
No one knew that someone's going to get cheated.
But everybody comes to a wedding. They all know they're. And that's the reason. Again. Right. That's true. But that's true. But the point is, specifically, we have a situation by a wedding that we have to be careful to designate specific witnesses for this purpose. And if we don't designate specific witnesses for this purpose, then there'll be a question whether the marriage is a marriage or not. Might not be a marriage because there's no witnesses. To make the marriage, morning Morris, you need witnesses. And that's why the most important people at the wedding, besides the rabbi who's officiating to make sure things are doing, is those witnesses. Yeah. Those witnesses on the marriage, yes.
They can just say,
no, they can't, because once you've appointed these two witnesses are exclusion of everybody else. These are the witnesses. They're not in the group, exactly. They're on the side. Mr. Haber, good?
It could be a witness that gets disqualified, that they weren't part of the group.
Okay, so that's a total different understanding why we call up. We think we call up everybody until now, but not everybody. Many people might have thought until now that we call up witnesses. We wanted that we're giving these people the honor. So we honor these two people to be the witnesses. No, it's only, we need these two witnesses in order to make sure that everybody else doesn't invalidate, all the relatives don't invalidate the whole story. Okay, so that's the end of now we're in the new Mishnah. Mishnah's on Vavam and Beis. Hayishnayim, Mazel Tov, we're turning the page. Okay, Hayishnayim ro'in oto mechalon zeh. 6BA. 6B, it should be A1, right? Okay. Hayishnayim ro'in oto mechalon zeh. The Mishnah is going to teach us that in order to be part of a group, there has to be some connection between the witnesses to unite them. If they don't have a connection between the witnesses to unite them, they're not called a pair. They're not able to testify together as a pair. And at the beginning of this Mishnah, first talks about two different groups of witnesses. There were two witnesses. Good morning, Yosef Atzadik, and good morning, Dr. Navid. There were two witnesses that were watching morning from this window, one window in the house. And then two other people seeing from the other window. And there was echad matrebo be'emsa. There was one guy that was giving a warning. We need a warning. The warning has to be done. And there was one guy in the middle, and this opinion is gonna disagree with the second opinion of the Mishnah that requires both the witnesses to give the warning. And this opinion says no, you do not need the witnesses to be the witnesses to give the warning. Even though we know this is a need, you need to have a warning. We cannot kill someone unless he's told right before. And if you do this act, you're going to get killed for it.
Anyone could warn that doesn't need to be part of the group.
Exactly.
But the group needs to hear the warning. Or
very good. So I would say that you need to have at least some of the witnesses. You need at least two witnesses to make sure the warning was given. So they would have to have heard the warning. One guy cannot be enough to validate that he warned the person. So now we have one guy in the middle giving the warning. Bisman, now the question is, are these two groups united? Two from this window, two from that. We know if they're united, then if something goes wrong in one group, if some invalidation in one member of one of these two guys, that will knock out the other two guys. If these two from this window are united with the other two of the other window, if they're not united, then they're two different groups. So if one group falls, the other group stands. So that is so now the Gemara is going to say what would qualify you as be united. Now the Gemara says it depends. If first thing the Mishnah is going to say, two in each window, two and two. No, we're going to have one-on-one soon. Now we're on two in this window, two in the other window. And there's one guy in the middle giving the warning. That we have right. There's someone else in the room. There's this perpetrator that has a knife in his hand, and they're warning him that if he goes ahead, the guy in the middle is warning this guy. If you stab the guy, the Gemara is going to say yes. The victim could want you. The victim. The Gemara is going to say we're going to have that Gemara. The victim could. We're going to have that Gemara. The Gemara is going to identify the victim himself. Could be as long as two witnesses heard that the victim said, if you do that, you're going to get, and then now it's amazing, right? So the Gemara says, "Bizman shemiksasim ro'in elu es elu." If some of this group sees some of the other group, then what does that mean? So the commentators have different opinions on this. One commentator says that it means if one member of these two guys, as long as he saw one of the other two guys, that's good enough. That unites. Even if the other guy from the other group didn't see him, as long as one member of these two guys from this window sees one member, at least one member of the other group, that unites them. Others say you need at least one guy from this group to see at least one guy from the next group, and you need vice versa, at least one guy from the next group to see one guy from this. So there's the question exactly, what does it mean they see each other? Does it mean they see each other? Or do we translate it, some of them see, these see them, or you need both ways. These see them and they see him, okay? That's the question in the Achronim, in the commentaries. But what I think is also interesting, we find this in Halacha also. By Zimun, we find such halachot that, let's say I'm sitting at a table here, we come together in a room, let's say we're having a meal together, the shul's having a meal, right? The shul's having a meal, we're all coming together for the meal. So if we're all in the same room and we'll all see each other, that can unite us, at a wedding, we come together for a wedding, we're all in the same room, that will, if we see, the fact that we see each other plays a role. So we have to look at halacha. This came also during COVID. This became a very big discussion because all these outside minyanim, these guys are on the porch and these guys are out downstairs, these guys are here. The poskim would discuss, do we look at, like our Mishnah says, this unites the group over here, but the fact that witnesses see each other. So then also, how do we look at by minyan? The fact that you see the other guy. You're not under the same roof. He's under his porch. He's he's outdoors. He's this. So this is something that has to be looked into to find details. But the concept of seeing somebody, it plays a role in halacha as we see here in our Mishnah. Okay. So the Mishnah says, what did you say? No, I'm just showing you. We have a. The Mishnah is saying very good. Here the Mishnah continues. Let's see. The Mishnah is going to do some talking. If some of the members of this group see from the other group, hari elu edut achat, that makes them one group. And the imlav, but if they don't see each other, hari elu shtei ediyut, then they're considered two groups. And therefore, now the Gemara says, what will be the consequences of this law? Lefikach. The Gemara says, Nimse ach. Morning. Right. So good morning, hi. Good morning. Hi. I mean, we said yesterday we had two different opinions in the Mishnah, whether you need to have intent in order to be part of that group or not. So that would depend on that dispute. Rabbi Yossi says no, as long as you saw it together, you're one group. The other rabbi says you have to have intent to testify in order to be part of. As long as you see each other, it would seem that makes you part of. Now, the Tosa says if the kasherim, if the kosher witnesses, I don't want. They say they don't want to be with those guys. Right. That's Tosa's the point. If the witnesses that are not related says we don't want to be with the other guy, I don't want to be. So therefore, according to Tosfos, that would make them not part of the group. Tosfos. According to Tosfos, I don't know that everyone agrees with that opinion. Okay, good morning, Jaime. We're in the Mishnah on 6b a1, where the Mishnah states if witnesses see each other, that makes them part of the group that unites the people together. So now the Mishnah, but if they do not see each other, the fact that you have two witnesses, Ariel, good morning, on this window, and two witnesses on another window, if they don't see each other, they are not united. And now the Mishnah says, listen to the ramifications. Lefika, 5 lines into the Mishnah. Imnim says achas mehem zo memet. If one group, we have two groups, the fact that they don't see each other, these two and these two, means they're not united. They witness the same crime, they're not united. If they're not united, and one group, these two guys on this window, on the east window becomes zomimim, we're going to kill those two witnesses who are framers. We only need those two to be found framers because they're not part of a larger group. But if they're part of a larger group, the only way you would kill framers if all the members of the group became framers. We had stated earlier in one of the Mishnayot, we can't kill framers unless all members of the group become framers. Yes, Michael. That's true. So we have two. Right. Okay. So again, so Michael's asking the following question. We have two witnesses. We have two witnesses that say.
So everybody, each one of them accepts each other's testimony.
So let's say, so according to the opinion that says, as long as one group says we saw the other group, we don't need the other group to say they saw him. So maybe with those, according to that opinion, those framers, they were the ones who said we saw the other guys.
The
other guys didn't see them. It's part of their life. According to that opinion, it would fit in very good. So the Mishnah says, if one group becomes Zoamim, if one group becomes framers, and the other group was not found to be framers, so what do we do? The group, those two that became framers will get killed. The group that was not found as framers remain as good witnesses. Becoming a framer just means you weren't there, you know nothing about the case. But now the other two people who were not found as framers, their testimony will kill the guy, the suspect. So we're going to have framers getting killed and the suspect getting killed. That's going to be a novel idea. Always, until now, Yaron, we always had this idea that if you found someone to be framers, the framers get killed and the suspect, he's the winner on the deal. He's off. And here the Mishnah is telling us you can have this phenomenon that you can have the framers getting killed and the suspect simultaneously getting killed, as long as there's another pair of witnesses on the same crime that were not found to be framers. That is the chidush. Yes. Yes. So that, Mr. Safdie, is that good? I mean, that because we have two witnesses that claim that it happened, and no one found them to be framers. Exactly. The Maisa happened, the accident happened because the second pair of witnesses were not found to be framers. So their testimony stands. Is that what you mean? It happened based on their testimony. The fact that the other two guys were found to be framers, so they'll get killed. the suspect will get killed because of the second pair of witnesses. So they both, so if the two witnesses getting killed, they say it again, even if what? He's guilty because of the second pair of witnesses that no one found. It could be, right, it could be, but it could be, Michael, you're right. It could be the phenomenal person, people can free. Right, even if the guy is found guilty based on the second pair of witnesses, but at the end of the day, if the first pair of witnesses had no right to testify because they weren't there,
Based on their testimony, that the person was guilty. And if they came in as false witnesses and they were found, then you don't do anything to them because they weren't on death row. But if they were found guilty, so they had to have been found guilty on these only, then they invalidated them, then two other witnesses came and made the person guilty.
you're saying that what the case would be that the first two guys came and they said they saw the story and it was convicted based on those first two guys, meaning conviction, meaning with the verdict of the court. They didn't kill the guy yet because once they kill the guy, then we were not going to kill any witnesses. And then they were found to be subsequently zomim, and two witnesses came and say, we also said that it's true. We saw it. Exactly what the first guy said is true.
Yeah.
But they were not found to be zomim. Yes.
That's the only way that it can actually happen.
Because what, or else, because it's, they need a verdict based on their testimony.
Two actually called it. The two that came and that were found and came in and did it before they had a verdict.
You had to have a verdict. There's no question it had to be a verdict, but you're saying another point.
Based on the real witness. The other two don't know.
No, again, you need to have a verdict based on the false witnesses, the framers, in order to kill in order to kill them. One second, Mr. Adji, what about if they all four came together? Okay, they all four came together. Why do we have to say the case like that? Why can't we say they all four came together? The court interrogated each of the witnesses, and these two guys say, we did not see these other guys. Nobody said they saw anybody. And but no, I'm saying, but these two witnesses, they never claimed they saw each other. These two never said they saw the other two. Therefore, they were never united as a group. And then the court heard their testimonies, and then the court made a verdict. So why can't you say that? What's wrong with verdict?
These two guys were not there.
No,
He's guilty.
the court said based on their testimony, guilty. The court had four witnesses on the deal. Right, you can say based on what we only need to. What do you need to say that the court made a guilty verdict first, and then subsequently came the second pair of witnesses and said, we also saw this. He's guilty based, he's on death row. Exactly. So why can you can say the Gemara like that? Again, but the verdict was based, again, the verdict was based on four witnesses. That's true. But that we're going to see. That's the chiddush is. What do you say? They're not considered a group of four, but they came as four. Meaning there are four people walk into court, and they say, we all saw this story. They all get, that's the case in the Mishnah. They all came into court. You could say they all came into court. Yes.
Go back to what you said. Maybe you answer this.
Yes.
There's one witness. Let's say there are three, right?
Yes.
One of them, they say,
Yeah, Ariel, you got to talk a little louder because the men on the screen want to see.
they came as a group of three.
Right.
And one of them, they said we saw it together, we witnessed it together, and one of them, so you said we don't punish the other two.
But the other two was not found to be zomim.
Yeah,
But still,
but
if
since-
one member of the group is found to be a framer, so the whole group we throw out.
but why don't
And we
we
don't kill
punish
this-
it? Why? Because
in order to
because
kill
they're
any-
lying. Because they say we saw it together, but then we have a witness that say that this guy was not there. So the two other ones.
That was Michael's question. So we wanted to say that was great. Michael also pointed out that great point.
So he said
So,
a
but
couple
we could
minutes
say, according to the opinion that says that as long as the domain, maybe one of the members, the domain, the one that was found to be a framer, he said that he saw the other guys. He was there with the other guys. You don't need all the members to say that we saw it together. If one person says, I was with you, I saw you, when I testified, that would unite the group.
So it
Okay.
can't be the case it can't be that the
Both, right, that'll be right. That should prove to one of those opinions. That's what it sounds like. We have to think about it more. Very good. But- yes.
Or points for the four. Four people walk in.
Right.
We were saying two of them are Zomamim, two separate groups, two of them are Zomamim. They already convict them, then they find the two are Zomamim. You're saying that you would kill those two Zomamim.
Two Zomim you would kill because they're two separate
Right.
groups, and you'll kill the suspect based on the other two witnesses that were never found to be guilty of framing.
Right, so what I was questioning before is the premise that because the other two witnesses would still prove it, that technically they're not on death row just because of those two.
That's true. So now we're going to explain your point. The fact that you're not on death row, the fact that there was four, at the end of the day, there were four witnesses that were heard by the court. Four witnesses, right, Morris? Two of them were found to be no good. Moni Akiva. Two of them will be no good. The court made its ruling based on four witnesses. They only needed two, but they made the ruling based on four. But the four was not a group because the four did not see each other, right? Well, therefore, they were never originally a group. And now the court has the right to kill a guy based on the remaining two witnesses. We had a Mishnah that said a beautiful idea. That if you have, let's say that the case of the Zomamim, you have three witnesses came to court, which is going to touch on Michael's point. Three witnesses came to court, and they all came as one group. And let's say two of the guys said that we saw, two of the guys said we saw the third guy we saw the third guy. When we all witnessed it, two of the three said we saw the third guy, and they come to court. And the first guy, these guys came in, let's say they walked in, like everyone spoke, like within the other guy. The court heard the first guy testify. Then they called Reuven. Then they called Shimon to testify. Then they called Levi to testify. Okay, and then as a result, and then the court ruled guilty. And then they were found. Then what happened was they were found to be Zomamim. All three were found to be Zomamim. We kill all three witnesses, correct? But the court's ruling, really number three, didn't really add anything to the ruling of the court. Because the court, once the court heard witness number one, morning Jake, and the court heard witness number two, and the court heard witness number three, all three don't talk at the same time. You have one, they come in maybe as a group. You talk first, you talk second. And then the court heard all three witnesses. They questioned each one of the witnesses, and they made a verdict, guilty. And then they subsequently became framers. So you might have thought, so there's a pasuk that teaches us, the Gemara, the Mishnah Rabbi Kiva says, that even though the court's ruling was sufficient, they didn't need the third guy to make that verdict of guilty. So you might have said the third guy didn't really add anything to this case. And you might have said that why should we kill the third guy? The court would kill the guy based on the first two witnesses. You hear the case, Michael? Need minimum of two. So what did the third guy do over here? He didn't really add anything to this mix. Good morning, Mr. Feldman. The third guy that starts testifying. That spoke. He's the third guy that spoke in the order of 1, 2, 3. You're the third guy that spoke. Yet the Mishnah teaches us, that's why the pasuk says, Al pi shnayim o shlosha, we compare the 3 to 2, we're going to kill the third guy as well. Because if you join the group of people doing a sin, even if you're not needed to accomplish the sin, but by being part of the group to sin, you get the same punishment as the rest of the guys. And then Rabbi Akiva gave that amazing spin in the positive way. He says, if you join a group that they don't need you to do the sin, you are punished. Okay? You know, but you know why? Because he wanted to make sure they really wanted to nail the guy. So he said, you know what, I'm gonna figure out, I want to come to the court and I'm gonna, and if that's the truth, since that's the story by doing something bad to somebody, how much more so if when it comes to do a mitzvah? If you have two people that are doing a mitzvah, they don't need you to help them with the mitzvah. Two people are picking up the table to bring the table from the shul, needs the table to be moved from one spot in the shul to the other spot. They don't need the third guy. They could do it without you. They're having and you go ahead and you join people in a mitzvah, you're going to get the similar reward as those people because you were part of that group, even though you weren't needed. So that's why it's important to always be part of great things, even they could do it without me. It can be done without me, but you be part of it. A lot of people, and that, we're going to get people, we have 5 people volunteering for a mitzvah. So they could do it without me. They don't need me. You hear that mentality? Good morning, Mr. Shatrit. Good morning, Mr. Feldman. Good morning, Kevin. Same thing with tzedakah, right? If you say, let's say that they might not need my help with that tzedakah, but the fact that I'm going to join in with those people, I'm going to get the reward like the people who made it happen, who were the ones who built that building. They didn't need more, or they paid for that. But I joined in, and that's going to make me, I'm going to get the reward like that, for joining into the mitzvah. So the Mishnah says, Lefikach, im nimseis acham zomemet. So that's the Mishnah says that we can have this phenomenon by, the Mishnah just said that if you're together with other people, you see them, that unites them as a group. 2 witnesses see 2 other witnesses, that unites them as a group. But if you don't see each other, then you're 2 separate groups. So that's what the Gemara says. Hu v'hei neragin. If they don't see each other, then the suspect would get killed. The 2 witnesses that were framers would also get killed. But the other 2 witnesses that were not found as guilty, they were not found as framers, they would be all right. Yes.
There was 2 groups of witnesses that were in different spots, like here and there, and a couple guys, 2 guys here, 2 guys there. One of them saw someone from the other side and thought they were a group.
So as long as one of them, according to this opinion, as long as you see the other guy, that unites you. Seeing the other person. If I don't see you, I'm not together with you. I see you with 2 guys here. What? Only one member. But there are 2 opinions in that. But one opinion is saying, as long as if I have 2 guys here, 2 guys at this window, 2 guys at another window in the house, there's one guy doing the warning in the middle. One guy from this window sees the other guy from the other window, that unites you, that connects you together. Seeing somebody connects you with him. And if you're part of that group, if one member of those 4 go down, all members are knocked out.
So that's easy to jeopardize the
Right, that's true. Correct, you're part of a group. So the Gemara, Rabbi Yossi says like this: in order to convict somebody, you have to go ahead and have to have 2 people, the witnesses themselves have to give the warning. If the witnesses themselves don't give the warning, if someone else, a bystander, gives the warning, that doesn't help. You need to have the witnesses. I just want to share with you. Okay, but that's right. That's right. But his opinion. This is his opinion. I mean, everyone doesn't agree with this opinion. I just want to read to you the Rambam. The Rambam says something fascinating. If somebody murdered somebody, and there were no witnesses on the deal, Now, let's see another case of the Rambam. Oh no, that's not the case. Different case. If you have somebody that killed in front of witnesses, but they did not warn the guy, and you know the law is that in order to kill, the court does not kill a guy unless the guy is warned. If the guy is not warned, you don't kill him. But now, how do we deal with it? But we know the guy murdered the guy, and we knew that he knows. Everyone knows murder is forbidden. Nobody thinks murder is I thought I'm allowed to do this act. So how do we deal with this situation when we have a murderer and we can't kill him? Do we just let him walk the streets? So the Rambam says, no, you don't let the guy walk the streets. You do something to cause the guy to die. You put him in a cell. You give him certain food, certain things that he's going to die. He's going to die as a result of. You're going to do something to make sure you can't directly kill him, but you have to indirectly kill the guy, this murderer. And the Rambam says we do this specifically for murder. Why do we do this for murder? Rambam says we don't do this for other things that guy is obligated there. But the Rambam says because murder ruins the normalcy of the world. The world can't exist properly. There's no other sin that's as bad as murder. And therefore, we have to go ahead. It's murder is between man and fellow man, and we have to go ahead and protect society. And therefore, in order to protect society, even if the court can't kill this guy, we're going to make sure that the guy gets killed. We're living in a time period today that people are getting away. What do you say? No one talked to Putin. People are getting away with murder. But we have this amazing halacha, how in halacha that sometimes there's a legal loophole that the court can't kill him, but the court still has ability and they have responsibility to protect. Well, yes, it's a Mishnah in Sanhedrin that the court will do certain things. I can't do it directly, but I'm gonna get the job done. They say in Europe, they say that sometimes they would kill the guy in the mikveh. That sometimes the guy would go to the mikveh. If a guy was a moser, if that's what they say, if a guy was a snitch and he would snitch to the government on some fellow Jews, sometimes they say, how'd the guy die? He died in the mikveh. Exactly, it wasn't exactly, however they did it, they make sure that the guy, obviously you got to be a big rabbi to give such an order but to save the community from such people, because the moser is chayav mitah. My father, Rabbi London, who always would say, a moser, he's a snitch, the worst. It's the worst thing to be a snitch. I want to wish everyone, I'm going to be going to Israel to speak at the yeshivot, to meet the boys that are coming back. What? I'm going to be speaking at the yeshivot to tell the guys when they come back to university, we have to make sure we continue in the Torah studies. I'm going today. My son is going to come cover the class. I want to make sure that the class continues strong. So everyone, please, when you come, maybe you'll give him chizuk. When you come, you'll give him chizuk. He's traveling in from New Jersey to make sure to be here for the class. I told him there's such a beautiful people at the class. They shouldn't miss out in the learning. So I'll be back next week. I'll be back looking forward to seeing everybody. But the fact that I'm not here, I would love to hear I'm going to hear reports. I'm going to be checking in, making sure that only some things need two witnesses. Not everything needs, very good. Not everything needs two witnesses. Have a great day. Thank you all for joining in. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, everybody. Wednesday morning, we're coming from Bezat Hashem straight here from the airport right here to this class. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rabbi.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Akiva. That's the coach. Thank you very much, David. Welcome back, Mr. David. You want to help out to close the thing? I'm happy to. Okay, so I'll see you next week.
Hey, guys. Oh, you made it? I know.